This is a fantastic book to improve your golf. And this is my interpretation of some of the elements in this book that never get old. And this is the chapter on stance and posture. And I want to go straight to page 42 here because this is talking about the stance of the feet. So you can see on this picture here that the left foot is more flared out. And this is very apparent when people have got problems with their ankle, their knee or their hip, or they're generally struggling to rotate the body in the golf swing. Now I do like rotation in the golf swing and this helps facilitate it for this reason. If I stand here and I go a bit pigeon-toed and I go from my toes in, if I see how much I can rotate back, I get to a certain point and I'm getting resistance here. Some others might get resistance in the hips. And as I go around this way, I go that way and I can only go this far. I've got resistance in the knee, I've got resistance in the hip. My body is not letting me rotate. So if I have my right foot square, like the image there, and then I have my left foot slightly flared out, that gives me a bit more ability to rotate. So I can rotate a lot more because of my foot. Toe in, can't turn, toe out, big turn. And then here on page 45, I really like this one because a lot of people do this. A lot of people have a lot of sway in the hips and they have a lot of rocking here, which doesn't help strike the golf ball consistently. And I talk about this a lot with the people that I teach. If I rotate and rotate, I get back to that golf ball, I strike it consistently. If I rotate and collapse here, I hit the ground early. If I rotate and jump over here, I hit the ground late, so it makes problems with strike if the body falls away from that center point. And here in this image, it's Hogan showing that the hips are rotating and the shoulders are rotating in a vertical fashion. So we're very much turning on the spot. We're very much turning as we go there. We're not sliding over, we're not opening the hips up, we're not getting the hips out of place because that causes other issues. So it's very much a rotation on the spot. And a good way of finding this, if you're struggling with lateral shifts and you're struggling with moving sideways, is to hit balls like this. And I would start this with a wedge. And I do actually encourage people that I teach to hit golf balls like this with a wedge on purpose. But if I put my feet together with my toes out, I'm going to find it very difficult to slide the hips and move the weight side to side. Because if I have a big wide stance and I try and move over here and move over here, I can still stand up. But if I then bring my feet in, I get my heels together and my toes out. If I then try and shift over here, I lose my balance. And then if I try and like shift over here, shift the hips, I lose my balance again. So basically swinging as fast as you can with your feet together in a practice swing is a really good way of finding that centered point and helping that body rotate more. And again, if we rotate more, we tend to get better striking because of that physical theory of the stick going back to the same point. So if I hit a couple of balls here with my feet touching, I'm going to test the water a little bit first. Okay, that was nice. And then I'm going to go, right, how much speed can I put into that stance? How much can I put through the golf ball from there? So I'll do a couple of practice swings and I really try and get through the ball. So I lost my balance there a little bit, cool. And then get used to making speed from there. I'm not going to get too far away from where I'm trying to get to. And then eventually I'll put more speed into it. And it really does tend to be quite consistent and like really well struck as well for the golfers that I get to do that. And again, I tend to do that with the golfers that move over quite a lot or they slide quite a lot because it brings in a lot of consistency. I did actually do that with my wedges, and I'm a big advocate of writing the numbers on your wedges to remind you of how far they go. And for about a year and a half, my secondary number was literally hitting shots like that. So if I stand in my normal way, I get back and I get through the ball and I create a certain speed, I get a certain distance. And then I was putting my feet together, heels touching. I can't reach as far back and I can't generate as much speed. So I had something that was slightly shorter than normal, but it was statistically my most repeatable yardage. Now the reason why I said it worked for a year and a half is because after a year and a half of doing it as I shot on the course, I eventually got it to reach the same numbers that I was getting on a full swing, which is a good sign. So the next part of this stance and posture bit is that Hogan's looking at the arms being put together, and he's got a picture there of the arms being bound together so they get a bit closer to the body. Now the only thing that I would add to this is that I don't want to do it tight. I don't want to be really squeezed in there, I just want to get them in. because tension doesn't help. But what he's saying is that if I get the arms in and the elbows under, so the elbows are going towards the hips instead of outwards, and I know Bryson DeChambeau does something very different to this, but he is a one-off case for it because he's got so much speed. Bryson talks about putting that elbow outwards to change how he gets back and into the ball, but he's got so much speed to kind of like control and manage. If he's got a limiting factor, it will make him more consistent. But for most of us, we don't need to put in a limitation. But with those elbows in and going towards your hips, we can make backswings and the arm will fold in. If we get the elbow outwards, I get up here and I get a bit stuck and I can't get the elbow out of the way. So if I start with them under, it's much easier to get into there. And then there is some funny pictures on this page, page 54, where it's talking about stance and like the buoyancy in the stance. So it's, what I'm generally looking for with people is a slightly more athletic stance. And it's like if I jump and land, that's where I'm going to stand. I'm going to be a little bit ready to go. I'm not going to be like straight legged and bent over or anything funny like what's in the picture there. So then we can engage the right muscles in the golf swing and we can leverage the club in the best way. If we have something that locks us, like we've got the three images there, we've got one where the legs are really straight and the body's leant over, I can't really get any help from my legs there. And then one with really bent legs and a straight back, I can't really reach the floor there, I'm changing the sort of plane of the swing. And then one that we're really crouched down, that's just generally not good. One way I would like to find that athletic position in the stance, again, like I say, jump up, land, with something like that. So I've got a bit of buoyancy in the leg muscles, I've got a bit of usage in them, so I'm not trying to lock out, I'm not trying to stick anywhere, I'm just letting it be a bit more free. And the only bit I disagree with here is this page, page 59. Now the point I don't like here is that the knees point in. So the knees point inwards. I don't like that because in a way I feel like it contradicts one of the other elements. One of the other elements of the hips turning and the shoulders turning on top. It helps us rotate around this spot, come back into the same spot. But if I point my knees in, I feel like it's a bit easier to get a bit sway here. We lose a bit of structure. If I get the knees out a little bit, I can't sway as much and I've got more ability to turn that upper body. But everyone is coming at this from a different athletic perspective. If I hit a shot with my knees inwards and then I go there, I instantly just want to like open up the hips a little bit too much. And for me, I don't want to do that. So knees in. Yeah, instantly I'm collapsing that left leg and I don't want to collapse that left leg too much and I've lost grip on the floor there, my foot started sliding. So I would much prefer, let's hit one with knees in. So knees in, I'll exaggerate. Well, it wasn't bad, but I jumped out of it. It's not bad, it's not terrible. Personally, I prefer to feel like the knees go outwards, but we are entertaining the realms of what suits what person. If I go knees out, it's much harder to slide. And it encourages my upper body to rotate more because my legs aren't letting the upper body fall out of shape. So my knees go out, I get here, and instantly, with my knees out there, I've got more engagement in the core. I've got more muscular inclusion in the swing. They engaged a bit more, whereas the other one, it was a bit more flimsy in the body. So make of that what you will, but jump in the comments your thoughts on that topic. But they're the elements on stance and posture in the Hogan Fundamentals of Golf, and my thoughts on them. Jump in the comments, let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next video.